basically designing their entire defenses against exactly what's happening. America has designed its entire offense, not against what's happening in Iran, but more so just like to constantly have permanent air cover over troop positions in places like Afghanistan and places like Iraq, where you can just like very quickly take out what exists if there is any air force at all, and then, you know, have complete air superiority. Oil prices will continue to rise. Yeah, massive explosions in the rock oil depots in Iran. You know, the situation is being monitored, and let me tell you, it's not good. It's not good at all. It's nowhere near as good as you would think. But of course, Donald Trump and his fat cats are already back on this side of the planet, talking about up Cuba and any other country that dares to democratically organize and decide to have any sort of autonomy or sovereignty from American imperialism. So it's fantastic stuff overall. We're going to get started because I don't have a lot of time before the speech. So I'm going to get started here with U.S. saying that they've hit 3,000 targets in Iran.
The U.S. and Israel intensifying their attacks on Iran as President Trump now demands, quote, unconditional surrender. Overnight explosions rocking Tehran yet again. Israel says they began a new wave of strikes, circulating online, showing the moment one of those strikes hit a major airport, leaving it engulfed in flames. Iran has been ramping up its retaliatory strikes throughout the week. On Friday, fires seen erupting at U.S. logistics offices and warehouses in Iraq after an Iranian drone strike. And in Kuwait, Iranian missile debris igniting this fire at a military base where U.S. troops are stationed. No injuries have been reported. But this morning, in a televised address, the president of Iran apologizing to its neighbors, saying there will be no more attacks on neighboring countries and no missile launches unless attacks originate from those countries against Iran. Also responding to Trump's call for surrender, saying the U.S. and Israel, quote, will take their dreams of us surrendering unconditionally to the grave. And in an alarming new development, sources telling ABC News the U.S. believes Russia has been providing intelligence to Iran involving the locations of American troops, including aircraft and ships in the region. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth responding to those claims in a preview of an upcoming 60 Minutes episode.
Our commanders are of everything. We have the best intelligence in the world. We're of who's talking to who, why they're talking to them, how accurate that information might be, how we factor that into.
When they say they hit 3,000 targets, not all of them are like painted targets or whatever with like thermal paint, but a lot of the targets that they're hitting are just like irrelevant targets. They have the capacity to eventually deteriorate the launch capabilities. They have the capacity more so than the deterioration of launch capabilities to maintain complete air superiority over different parts of Iran. They haven't yet established complete air superiority over different parts of Iran. Part of the reason why is because I've talked about it already. Iran has mobile defense systems. So when the defense systems are not out and they're hidden, Americans can fly around. They have drones. They have Reaper drones. Israel has their own version of the Reaper drone. I forget what it's called. But like, we have our own surveillance drones, and we have strike drones as well that can loiter for a lot longer than a fighter jet can. It's still a very expensive. Yeah, the Hermes. Thank you. So it's still a very expensive drone. It's a very expensive piece of equipment, and Iranians have been able to take out multiple at this point. I believe it's around 4, and numerous Israeli drones have been taken out as well. We don't know the actual numbers for that. The Ansar Allah is still the number one at drone targeting. But basically what America is trying to do is, alongside Israel, what they're trying to do is just like deteriorate Iran's anti-air systems to the best of their ability so that then they can go scud hunting, right? Something that we were able to do in Iraq fairly easily because Iraq is the terrain of Iraq is not as good for hiding weapon systems as the Iranian terrain is. You know, the topography of Iran is mountainous. and it's much easier to hide these weapon systems. It's much easier to move them around. It's much easier to put them inside of caves. The Iranian topography makes it quite difficult to engage in this kind of thing. But in order to even kickstart the process of scud hunting, which will be an incredibly, incredibly expensive endeavor regardless, which America definitely has the offensive capabilities to do, make no mistake, they have to diminish the Iranian anti-air systems. And that's the reason why they're constantly bombing right now. Like I'm sure that they're trying to bomb the missile silos and things like that. But regardless of the fact that they're trying to bomb missile silos and the missile depots and where they make the munitions in general, I don't think that they've had a good enough. I don't think they've done a great job with that. Iranians are not launching the same severity of missiles since like the first day of the conflict. However, having said that, they have a much higher hit rate now with the missiles that they are launching when they do. So, if you consider like ballistic munitions, 300 or so ballistic munitions fired in Israel's direction or fired in general, the first first day of the Operation Epic Fortnite Chungus, right now they're hitting like 35, right? But the hit rate has gone up so much that even if they were hitting 350, they were, their hit rate was nowhere near as high. So they're more effective and more efficient with their strike capabilities. However, I will say this. Like I said, America doesn't have enough in the tank for defensive weapons, but they certainly do have a lot in their offensive capabilities. America is very, very good at offensive. America has virtually unlimited different types of weapons, different types of munitions that they can deploy when it comes to offense. The reason why it's normally like a glass cannon is because most of America's enemies are not people with like air forces or a significant indigenous weapons manufacturing system, weapons manufacturing industry. Like they basically designing their entire defenses against exactly what's happening. America has designed its entire offense, not against what's happening in Iran, but more so just like to constantly have permanent air cover over troop positions in places like Afghanistan and places like Iraq, where you can just like very quickly take out what exists if there is any air force at all. And then, have complete air superiority over the entire land. Iran is a different demon. So, that's the reason why they're having this hang up. That's the reason why they're having a hard time dealing with it. But in the process, they've killed a bunch of people. The death toll in Iran has gone up. I believe it's more than 1,200 people. Last time I checked, it's probably higher than that now. And also the types of targets that America and Israel are striking have crossed new boundaries. New boundaries like a water desalination plant. If you recall, yesterday I talked to you about how we were talking about like Iran's capabilities of withstanding of attrition, right? And one of the things someone asked me is like, oh, what's their agricultural output look like? And I told you that Iran is like a fairly self-sufficient country with one exception. And that exception, of course, is water. Water is a major problem in this region. It's certainly not just a problem for Iran. It's an even bigger problem for the Gulf states, where they have to have desalination plants. Without them, it's like you're knocking out basically 60% of their fresh water supply. So what America did and what America seeks to do here, I think, is to collapse the Gulf in its entirety. I don't think this is just about Iran. If I were to think of like a higher ambition for America in all of this, if this isn't just like Israel urging Trump to do something unimaginably stupid that's going to be, tens of billions of, well, already tens of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions of fucking dollars in expenditures at the behest of Israel. If I'm thinking like longer term, like what could be the grand project here? Maybe and this is what I wanted to ask the oil autists in my chat about a little bit, because I don't fully understand the refinery process. I was thinking about this quite a bit last night, because now that the Republicans have openly started saying, we don't even give a shit about regime change, we just want the oil, it started thinking like, well, they're not going to get the oil, right? So I wonder if they're just trying to get Iran to blow up all the refineries, and then they blow up Iranian refineries, and that's already happened today, by the way. They blow up Iranian refineries, Iran retaliates, goes up the escalation ladder, and hits the nuclear option, where Iran just like completely cripples the oil refinement processes in the Gulf, right? And then America is sitting on a massive stockpile, a massive natural reserve now in Venezuela of heavy crude. Heavy crude, normally in the shale boom that we've had in the country, which is lighter, right? Heavy crude is useless to us, at least as long as like the Gulf can continue facilitating oil and gas to that side of the world, to the eastern side of the world, the Asian countries. But now, if you just destroy the Gulf, all of a sudden, the price of the oil barrel, the price of a singular barrel could be kept relatively stable, and it would actually be very cost effective for America to start refining heavy crude, which 70% of our refinement process actually utilizes heavy crude. So we just don't have heavy crude. We've always taken it from other countries. We don't have a lot of heavy crude, but now we have unlimited heavy crude from Venezuela. So I wonder if that is the long-term, like, imperialist ambition of some of the Americans that are looking at the situation and thinking, yeah, we just wait this out. All of this market panic actually benefits us quite a bit. Sure, we lose our bases. Sure, we lose our weapon systems. Sure, we lose our radar systems in the Gulf, and we lose our Gulf partners. But we also destroy the Gulf in the process, and America becomes like one of the sole oil providers to the Asian markets, which is pretty big, because then we're the sole oil provider for China. Hasan is making shit up as he goes. Wait, what? Did you just not listen to what I'm saying? This is like, I'm saying this might be America's like 5D chess. I don't understand. Wait, what? I don't understand. These guys don't even come in here and like listen to anything that I'm talking about. They just are like, Hasan is lying to you all. It fucking sucks. This will be a massacre. Never take war news from a progressive because war is ugly and gross. Really? I hate everything about the U.S., but I know what awaits. We can afford $1 trillion defense budget, but not food, healthcare, or housing. Hasan is just making shit up as he goes. That's such a strange way to respond to what I'm talking about. Now, the reason why I said I need to hear from the oil autists is because I might be totally off base here. Because like I know that the type of oil that comes from the Gulf is different. It's not heavy crude, right? This was a big problem for Venezuela, if you believe the analysts, right? That's the reason why Venezuela's market collapsed. It was a single resource economy, sure, that's fair, but also on top of that, it was heavy crude, and no one wanted to work with heavy crude. But that I feel like could be one of the angles, because like if you recall, we were reading so many different articles at the time when America was moving on Venezuela, and all these big thinkers were like, well, America doesn't want to invade Venezuela for oil, even though Trump was like, I'm invading Venezuela for oil. Like, I want the oil of Venezuela. I don't give a shit about anything else. I just want the oil. Fuck you. And everyone was like, no, because if America sat on top of like the world's largest, known natural reserves in Venezuela, technically this would destroy the domestic oil manufacturing in the United States of America, okay? Which is true. There is truth to that. If America was to just lean into the heavy crude that they're getting and start refining heavy crude and start importing, start selling a fuck ton of heavy crude, this would be beneficial for Chevron in the long run and Exxon in the long run, but it would destroy like the small business oil frackers. Like it would straight up destroy a big part of the Texas economy, right? Because like in many parts of this country, it sounds funny when you say it like that, like small business frackers. That's a real thing, right? Like that doesn't mean that they're literally a small business like a mom and pop shop, but there are much smaller frackers out there, right? And you have the giants, but in the United States of America, you also have with the expansion of oil extraction with fracking, you have a lot of like smaller, independent operations that are a big part of the Texas economy. They're just a big part of the American economy, and that is how we got energy independence, right? So what I feel like is at the time everyone was like, this doesn't make sense. What the fuck are we going to do with Venezuela's oil? Because if we produce too much oil, then the price of the barrel goes down and then no one's making money because it has to sit at that like what, $60. You remember how Giannis and I were talking about this? Where, you know, the price of a barrel has to sit in that like 60 to 70 comfortable range where the prices are low enough for the consumer, but they're high enough so that like there's profits to be made, right? If it dips below that because we're overproducing, it's great for the consumers, but it's horrible for the businesses. It's no longer profitable. So then they are not, under normal market conditions, incentivized to continue their operations. They go out of business. Okay, so there's also LNG, obviously, but for the record, I do want to say something. This doesn't mean it's going to succeed. It also certainly doesn't mean that in the interim, there's going to be less blood and less destruction. No, there's going to be maximum blood, maximum death, maximum destruction. And on top of that, there's no guarantee that this will work. Because if Iran can hold out and open up like a supply line with Russia or China, and then China turns Iran into like their their Ukraine-style proxy against the American and Israeli forces, and they just keep steadily supplying them in the same way that like America and the Western world supplies Ukraine to defend and to cause attrition to the Russian forces. If China were to do that, I'm not so certain that America would get out of that equation a fat W, right? The problem is shutting down the Gulf oil production in its entirety would be possibly beneficial to Israel and Israel's psychotic design in the region, right? And it destabilized Iran in the process. Fantastic for Israel, right? Then they can move on to Turkey. And continue taking out like every single fucking Muslim country in the region, right? If they're fighting one another, it's even better for Israel. The issue is there is not a lot of, it's just not a guarantee at all, especially considering what's currently happening with the fucking oil markets, what's currently happening in the energy markets. But hey, what are you going to do? The American government is basically directly under Israeli ownership. So what are we supposed to do? It is openly stated that they are going up the escalation ladder and striking Iranian oil depots in an effort to provoke a response from Iran that strikes the oil depots of the Gulf. Here's a photo of a massive oil explosion in the rock oil depots in Iran. They're also, I don't know. They also hit a desalination plant. U.S. hit a water desalination plant to provoke a response from Iran to hit the water desalination plant of the Gulf. The Gulf eats it. America and Israel hit Iran, and then Iran, in an effort to retaliates against the Gulf. But if they retaliate too hard against the Gulf, then they can't achieve their political goals, because their political goal is the full retreat of American assets from the region, right? Their military goals here are to basically make the region so unstable for American troops that they have to fucking pull out. It's too costly. There's not a lot of political appetite for it at the domestic level in America, and take out Israeli defenses in the process, make Israel more vulnerable in the process, all the better, right? Deplete America's munitions, deplete Israel's munitions and defense batteries, and then eventually, oil nerd, if you want some perspective, you want an explanation of China's oil position. TLDR, we're screwed. China isn't. I mean, they can rely on Russia, right? That's what you mean. Oil authors destroying the Gulf's refining capacity would bring the world into a global recession. Not that much thought has gone into it. TLDR, the U.S. simply doesn't have the refining capacity to replace Gulf refining capacity, not even close. There is no long-term planning here other than sucking Israel's dick. Yeah, I'm just saying, no matter how insane this is, I feel like that's the only, logical through line I can come up with to offer a materialist perspective beyond Americans are fucking cattle.
Battle plans.
The Pentagon says the U.S. has now struck more than 3,000 targets in Iran, with the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, moving into the Red Sea. And as questions mount as to whether there will be American boots on the ground, in another sign of potential escalation, multiple officials telling ABC News the Army abruptly canceled a major training exercise for a unit of the 82nd Airborne Division that oversees deployments. The 82nd Airborne is the Pentagon's premier ground combat unit, fueling speculation that they may be getting ready to deploy to the Middle East if needed. But officials stress there are no orders to deploy right now. The scope of the war only growing larger, and on to a second front as deeper into Lebanon, waging war on the Iranian-backed proxy group Hezbollah. Bombs ringing out in Beirut throughout Friday.
So you can see there the explosion right there. You can see the explosion. And there is the sound. It takes a little bit for the sound to travel. Obviously, you see the explosion first, then the sound reaches us. That is the latest strike and what has been strike after strike after strike all day long.
Hundreds of thousands now forced to escape after the Israeli military issued evacuation orders in the area. And this morning, new details on that horrific strike on a girls' school in southern Iran that Iran says left 168 people dead. As the U.S. investigates.
Why are we now saying that the administration is controlled by Israel? Doesn't the power dynamic still favor Trump here? One phone call away, right? Yes, it's always been one phone call away. I'm just saying this admin doesn't. The previous admin was never making that phone call because they're psychos. And the current admin is also not making that phone call because they're fucking psychos. That's the whole point. Make no mistake. There is no, Jewish hypnosis beam or something, okay? There, whatever Nazis say about the dynamic between America and Israel, unless you are just simply reflecting on the not necessarily power dynamic, but the influence capabilities of Israel. If you're talking about the influence capabilities of Israel, it's a very sophisticated network, and it's also obviously very successful, right? But there is no at the end of the fucking day, yeah, there is no goy beam. Okay, there's no monolithic Jewry anyway, and there's certainly no fucking goy beam. America could literally just be like, all right, fuck off, enough. What are we doing here? If I believe that it was the goy beam or Zog, Zionist occupied government, the way that people talk about it, then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be trying to decouple America from Israel to the best of my ability in order to preserve the safety and security for the entire region, the entire MENA region, and American lives, Iranian lives, and countless other lives in the region. It's just the inconsistencies with American war planning at this point mean that there is a separate factor here at play that's really pushing America into doing this stuff. America still holds all the cards, because how the fuck does Israel defend itself? How the fuck could Israel ever defend itself without unlimited support from the United States of America? Yeah, the Landman clip is exactly what what's his face Giannis was talking about. This clip is low key. I mean, this show is oil propaganda anyway. So here,
you want oil to live above 60 but below 90. And don't get me wrong, we're still printing money at 90, but gas gets up over $3.50 a gallon, it starts to pinch. It hits 100, every product in America has to readjust its price. $78 a barrel. That's about perfect. You know, it brings enough profit to keep exploring, but it don't sting as much at the pump. Unless, of course, here in California, I mean, they tax the shit out of it out there. It could, and it's still $4 a pump. I don't know how those son of bitches do it out there. 2020, a barrel of oil was worthless. And this place became a ghost town. And nobody's immune. Kids have to quit college. Trucks get sold or repoed. Houses too. People quit going to the doctor because they lost their insurance. Yeah, bust affects everything in a town like this. Even the lifespan of the population. The smart ones, they pay cash for everything and then sock away enough to ride out the troughs, but there ain't that many smart ones.
This is how you have a celebration drink?
Well, shit, you asked.
I'm an oilman. What the fuck? What the fuck is this outro? Women aren't allowed to talk in Taylor Sheridan shows? Yeah, that's why we like him, because they're not woke. Okay? Women are only to be ogled at. Duh. So that was the reason why I was talking about like Venezuelan heavy crude and what that would have done to the oil markets in America, like oil markets generally. If America started mass producing Venezuelan heavy crude, which, you know, would take a long time to retool our facilities to do anyway. This would be beneficial for Louisiana, I think, right? In California, around the Gulf. Like there are refineries that can handle heavy crude. It's just, you know, I think the big boys can handle it. Chevron, Exxon, either put the refinements directly in Venezuela and get assurances that they'll be safe. Or it would take 10 years at minimum to catch up. I don't know if it would take 10 years. It doesn't take time to retool for heavy oil, by the way. We have fracking. Dude, I know we have fracking. I'm saying in order to stabilize the energy market, America would need a treasure trove of natural reserves that's close enough in proximity to American refineries. American fracking cannot keep up with the market demand. American refineries, as American shale, American fracking cannot single-handedly keep up with the market demands if the Gulf burns. As a matter of fact, even this thing that I'm talking about, to try to make sense of like why we're doing all this, it still doesn't make sense. I'm just trying to find like what the gamble is here for America and American capital. We import heavy oil, mix it with light oil, and refine it based on producing bunkers, heavy oil for construction, avgas, petroleum, etc. Yeah. And you think China's going to stay put and take it? Like, are they going to let the Gulf burn? Bro, I don't know. But that's super, super long-term potentially. And even then, it's speculation. I'm trying to make sense of what America's doing. In the short term, if America's goals revolve around, destabilizing Iran fast enough and collapsing the state fast enough before the entire global economy implodes, then yeah, I don't think America is achieving those goals at all. You know what I mean? I just don't think that it's within America's capabilities. Do you see what I mean? Do you understand what I'm talking about? There's like so many different factors. Like apparently there's precursory chemicals and products necessary for fertilizer that also goes through the strait, and now they can't get that. And then if you don't have that fertilizer, then you can't do agricultural output, and then you don't have food. The price of food goes up. Like the entire global economy is designed in a way where everything touches one another. So if you just shut off one of the fucking parts, if you shut off one of the major hubs, whether it be major hubs of international travel like the Dubai airport, come to Dubai BB, or you shut off a massive hub in which a tremendous amount of trade hinges on, you're fucked. You're totally fucked. So you're fucked in a way where, like, I don't think America's proximity to the conflict that they are creating is going to matter. So it's basically three different powers fighting against one another. Well, two aligned with one another, America and Israel, fighting against Iran. And it's a matter of like, can Iran wait it out? can Iran make it hurt for long enough that America and Israel retreat? Or on the other side, America and Israel's goals are, can we destroy Iran? Can we destroy Iran fast enough that we can then have assurances that like the refineries will be fine, they'll be relatively safe, and the Strait of Hormuz will open up again, and then, you know, the Asian markets can receive the much needed energy supply without any serious economic hits. The problem is, at least for America and Israel, Iran has hands. Like, Iran has fucking hands. It's objectively true that Iran has hands, okay? I know that we love to think about our force projection capabilities everywhere all at once. In a matter of 24 to 48 hours, we have our fucking strike teams. We have our aircraft carriers. They got the steam catapults. Sure, they don't have the electromagnetic catapults that the Chinese have, but the Chinese only have one fucking carrier, and that's not cool enough. We have 13, and we have nukes, nuclear power, you know, all this stuff. Except all of that technological superiority and unlimited bloat gets fucking ethered when the opposite side can launch unlimited lawnmowers from the back of a fucking pickup truck. Lawnmowers that they are building in deep underground bunkers. And those lawnmowers got fucking hands. Not only do those lawnmowers got fucking hands, but those flying lawnmowers can also swarm and destroy any ship that tries to go through the Strait of Hormuz, even with potentially American naval assets literally slammed in its ass cheeks. So that's the problem. If they got 50,000 Shahed drones and their manufacturing capabilities are still there, right? They can just send unlimited Shahed drones, like all the time, nonstop. And the reality, the Western forces have never really met, at least in modern combat. Western forces have never really met an enemy like Iran. Normally, you go in, you do a shock and awe bombing campaign, you decapitate the state, or you destroy like the military command structure, you kill a fuck ton of civilians, and then you maintain air superiority for the rest of the 20-year plus occupation, and then you send in a fresh pile of meat of 18-year-olds from Iowa and Ohio and Kentucky that want to get a comms degree, whose high school sweethearts are getting their backs blown out while they're over there getting their dicks blown up by IEDs. Okay, and you can keep that up for like 20 fucking years, and a lot of people make money in the process. Military-industrial complex is happy. The petro-capitalist pedophiles are happy. The other side of the defense contractors that engage in like development are happy. You know, Halliburton, right? Because these guys don't just do extraction; they also do like buildings, and they're able to run up the tab with the fucking Pentagon. Pentagon is happy. Everyone's happy. It's great, right? You're just dominating. You got sheep herders on the one side, and you got pedophile warlords on the other side, on our side, right? And you can just like keep it going for a long ass time. Stock market's happy. Everyone's happy. With Iran, they've finally tried to dominate a country that actually does have the capabilities of making it hurt. Okay, that's it. That's the issue. Iran has the capabilities of making it fucking hurt. And that's precisely the reason why I'm hearing a lot of copium coming from the American side, like unlimited copium, shit like this.
What has happened? Let's list it out. So we took out the Iranian regime leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini, and then 40 of the top leaders. We degraded their military. You can see we've been laying that out all day, all morning. We've because they've decided to attack their neighbors, and we've kind of unified them behind us. So that's kind of worked in our favor to some degree. Spain, England, right? Why should we ever help them again? This is a way to reveal that. We talked a little bit about the insurance situation for ships coming across the Straits of Hormuz. So there's that angle as well, which is very interesting.
Oh, that's an interesting angle. That's the whole game. That's not an angle, dumbass. That's the ballpark. What the fuck? That's the full scope of the issue. Okay. Oh, it's just the Strait of Hormuz. What about the Gay of Hormuz? We could just do that, right? It's like, why don't we just build a canal through the other side of the mountainous side of Bahrain? Why don't we just do that? And then problem solved. I don't get it. Why don't they just carry the oil barrels to the other side, to the Red Sea side? Oh, wow. Thank you. It's just, I had not, years and years of planning, and no one had thought about that. Thank God. Thank God you're on it. We got the brightest minds here. So, it's fucking idiotic. We're a nation of idiots, run by idiots, and they're bloodthirsty. They're monstrous idiots, and they have a nuclear arsenal. It's a devastating turn of events. It was inevitable that it would get here, right? Meanwhile, $1 to $2 billion every single day just to keep up this operation. The costs are going to mount too. On top of that, the lost assets that will never be recovered, the lost assets that will never be rebuilt, the amount of money we spent on it, all the eyes and ears in that region, right? That Iran has effectively destroyed, permanently destroyed all the radars, all the early advanced warning systems, knocked them the fuck out, which has been so effective, for the record. It has been so effective. Because everyone was like, why is Iran hitting all the Gulf countries? What? Aren't you guys all Muslims? Like, why are the Muslims fighting one another again? They must be so barbaric and so stupid. It's like, no, dumbass. They were literally cratering the Bahrain naval base on the one side. On the other side, they were literally taking out all of the American radar systems. And now you have a situation where Israel cannot even fucking warn their citizens when ballistic munitions are launched in the direction of fucking Tel Aviv. So this cost is an incredibly conservative estimate, because this cost is not even factoring in all of the other operational costs. It's not factoring in like the full scope of the damage, right? So these guys, like, but even then it's devastating, right? Even then it's devastating, especially when you factor in the whole Elon Musk Doge shit, right? Remember when a bunch of teenagers working for Elon cut the funding to Sesame Street a year ago because America was on the verge of financial collapse or something? What happened now? Maybe you are underestimating a FIFA Peace Prize awarded young man. It's true. Yeah, IDF officially came out and said that they can no longer guarantee it will send alerts for missiles before the sirens sound. Iran Customs Service, is there a problem with the war you ordered? Yeah, so what's up? And now someone's saying, Ali Larji, American soldier. Oh boy. You called it, balkanization will happen? No. Will balkanization happen? We know that that's their goal. We know that's been their fucking goal. I hope that every single fucking Iranian that was coming in to my chat from either just freshly left Tehran or living in the fucking diaspora will now understand exactly what I was talking about. This was always the fucking goal, because this was Israel's goal. And Donald Trump is Israel's bitch, okay? He doesn't know anything. He doesn't understand anything. He does not comprehend anything at all. He just knows, I will give you money and then I can build fucking golf courses in your country. That's the only thing he fucking understands. So someone like Benjamin Netanyahu, especially being like Trump is like clearly one of those guys who's like, Jews, they're good with numbers, like that type of dude, like a philo-Semitic fucking reactionary boomer who like, thinks you got to have a Jew in your corner, like that type of guy. So Benjamin Netanyahu comes in and he's like, well, I don't trust you, but you're probably smart. You got some smart guys, right? Then Benjamin Netanyahu comes in and is literally like, he comes in and he's like, oh, yes, we will destroy the Iranian state and you will be a legend. They tried to kill you. They tried to kill you so many times, and also you can take the oil, and we'll build Trump Tower in Tehran, and you will be celebrated as a legend for doing the thing that all of the previous presidents were too afraid to do, like Biden. You know who would never have done this? Barack Obama. Okay. And then Trump hears that and goes, all right, great. Look at how I was able to flex my might on Venezuela, right? Look at how I was able to do that. Boom, boom, boom. Seems smart. All these other fucking dickheads around me are telling me this is a great idea. Lindsey Graham is literally getting the youngest boy slaves you have ever seen, freshly imported to his fucking mansion from Tel Aviv, okay? Lindsey Graham flew to Israel 500 times, bro. Like, literally, he just kept going to Israel over and over again in the buildup to this goddamn armada. What the fuck was he doing there? Oh, you don't have to speculate what the fuck he was doing there, because Wall Street Journal actually wrote an article about it. Isn't it fucking crazy, by the way, that like 3, 4, 5 years ago, if you were to be like, the American government is like directly being influenced by a foreign nation state by the name of Israel to do insane shit, people would look at you and go, what are you, Pat Buchanan? Get the fuck out of here, you goddamn anti-Semite. I would have probably been like, all right, buddy. Maybe a little bit far-fetched. Now they're dabbing on us, okay? Now they're fucking dabbing on us, bro. They are fucking dabbing on us. It's Dab City, okay? Like, Matthew Petty posted this, but it's crazy. Wall Street Journal's reporting. To help make the case on Iran, Graham traveled several times to Israel in recent weeks, meeting with members of the country's intelligence agency. They'll tell me things our own government won't tell me, he said. He spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, coaching him on how to lobby the president for action. Israeli spies coached a U.S. senator to talk to the president into war with Iran. Sounds like an insane conspiracy theory, except that the senator is bragging about it. Like, it's literally turning into, like, Israel opening up the protocols of Zion and being like, what is in here? Like, it's the same principle behind, like, the blood libel shit, right? When like people who want to defend Israel would be like, oh, that's blood libel if you say Israel's killing children. If you tell me Israel's killing children, you're doing blood libel. It's like, well, I'm seeing the children that Israel's killing with my own two fucking eyes. What do you mean it's blood libel? Like this literally is an anti-Semitic conspiracy, except it's no longer an anti-Semitic conspiracy. It's just reality. It's just like real thing that is being written in American newspapers, and it's being mass-produced for every American to fucking read and understand. And seemingly, because we are unironically fucking cattle, there's nothing we can do about it. Everyone's just like, what are you going to do? It's crazy. Now, I will say this, of course, make no mistake. If you're confused about what I'm saying here, like, there is an end out of this. It's still a phone call, okay? It's still a fucking phone call. That's all it takes. But no one seems to want to make that fucking phone call. By the way, if you're confused, like, I mean, he literally said it before as well. Here it is. Here's Lindsey Graham.
You ready? Thumbs up back there? Thumbs up from everybody. Okay. Well, I'm Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. I'm back. I come here every 2 weeks whether I need to or not. So why did I come this time? To put a fine point of where we're at as a world regarding the Iranian regime.
What do you think of Israel? What do you think will happen if Israel falls? Are you fucking serious? Are you baiting? Like, objectively, if the Zionist occupational state no longer exists, it will be better for everyone, including the current Israeli citizens. Okay? Because the reality of the matter is, while a lot of these guys are fucking bloodthirsty and hopped up on unlimited grain exist, wouldn't that be a much better way to go about it, like peaceful coexistence? So yes, the world would objectively be a better place for not only the victims of American and Israeli occupation and American and Israeli genocide, but it would even be a better place for people that are living there. Okay? And for the most reactionary forces, the fucking the neo-Nazis, well, fuck them, okay? Won't nukes fall before the state falls because of external war? Yeah, I mean, there's that side of it too. I don't even want to think about that. But yeah, Israel strikes Iranian oil infrastructure in major escalation. So like, that's where we're at. That's what's going on right now. That's what's happening right now. Isn't that fucking insane? You know, I always thought they had Lindsay doing some crazy stuff on video, but at this point, I think he just loves Netanyahu and being evil that much. Look at the smile on this man. He's so happy. What a freak. Yeah, no, well, the fucking blood boys, the reason for Lindsey Graham to like probably suck the blood of is, you know, just extra profit, right? It's like it's a cherry on the top. Yeah, he is a truly evil demon, except he also gets to have, you know, little boy slaves, I assume. So you don't have to blackmail someone into doing something they want to do anyway. Lindsey Graham does this stuff because he thinks it's awesome. Yeah, I agree. Oh, dude, I agree. Lindsey Graham with like Israel is kind of like, you know, the average Republican with like NRA funding, right? Like the NRA doesn't need to give that guy money for that guy to be like, I love guns. I want to fuck a gun. I want to put a gun up my asshole. Okay. I fuck my gun every night. Like there are people who legitimately live like that. Okay. And, you know, the NRA still gives them money, but they don't technically need to, right? I'm very sure I've seen him come in his pants while talking about war on cable news. Yeah. Lindsey Graham is a psycho. I mean, this is his goal. This has been his fucking dream.
Sources telling us they believe it is possible American forces are responsible for the attack because they were conducting strikes in the vicinity of the school at the same time. Retired Master Sergeant Wes Bryant.
What are we doing here, man? Everybody in the world knows this already. I can't believe that there's like any confusion about how the fucking school got bombed, which literally Pete Hegseth came out and showed their strike targets, and the school was smack dab in the middle of it. So yeah, we know that the fucking Americans bombed the school. Trump can deny it all day, every day. Everybody knows America bombed the fucking school. Trump denied it and said it was Iran. Yeah, well, no one gives a shit because no one believes him because he's a fucking psycho. Bro, the funniest thing was Israel immediately was like, this isn't on us. I know you think we love to kill children, but this time it was not on us. Believe me, it was the Americans. It was not me. I know. I wish it was us. We love killing children at schools. These are terror children. But this time it was not me.
Who worked in the Pentagon office that assesses civilian casualties, says he believes the building was targeted.
I could tell immediately that this compound was deliberately targeted.
Yeah, it was deliberately targeted, and they're trying to fucking be like, well, it's a school in a military base or in an older military installation. Like, yeah, guess what? We also have fucking schools on our bases, dumbass. That's normal. That's a thing that, it's in Iran. What are you talking about? Like, no shit. Like, that doesn't mean you can blow up the fucking school. Oh, my God. Anyway.
I know since we've seen at least 7 different target points that were individually targeted by munitions within this compound, very, very clearly.
Israel saying its forces were not operating in that area, but 1 week since the attack, the U.S. still looking into it, saying that it would never deliberately target civilians.
Now, this morning, President Trump taking to social media part that certain groups of people in areas inside of Iran that were not considered for targeting up until this moment are now, quote, under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death because of Iran's bad behavior. Not exactly clear, Janae, what he's talking about there.
Yeah. Iran's military this morning says it's launched a wave of drones at Israel and U.S. military bases in the region. Overnight, air raid sirens and blasts could be heard in Jerusalem. And this morning, smoke was seen over Dubai's airport. Both are signs Iran still possesses the capability to launch retaliatory strikes. Imtiaz Tayyab is in Doha, Qatar, with more on the regional impact of the war. Imtiaz, good morning.
Adriana, good morning to you. Well, in that Truth Social post, President Trump was responding to Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian's apology to Gulf states, including where we are here in Qatar, which have essentially repeatedly been hit by Iran.
Let's go, Brandon. Iran came out and hit the Brandon note. Okay, Iran came out and had their very own Brandon moment, which was really funny because, like, Arakshi, who is infinitely more reliable as far as like the civilian government side, is a much more reliable narrator of events. If you want to know exactly what's going on or what Iran is going to do, go directly to the IRGC. If you want to hear like a more westernized, more liberalized version of what they're doing, then you go to Arakshi. if you want to be confused, you go to the president. Now, you know, the president Pezeshkian is or I keep saying his name wrong. Okay. The how do you fucking say the president's last name? The Aussie last names are so fucking hard. I keep butchering it. No, it's not air quotes in president right now. There is a 3-person committee that runs the country technically. Okay, Pezeshkian abi. Ulan oğlum Pezeshkian abi diyorsun da kolay mı yani bunu anlamak? Pezeshkian. Evet. So there's a 3-person committee that currently technically runs the country. It's the de facto, or it's the legal government. It's the de facto government, especially when there is no Ayatollah, because the Ayatollah sits on top of everything else. But the problem here is, the IRGC is running the show. Like, if you want to know what's going to happen next, you can hear it directly from the IRGC, because he came out. Pezeshkian came out and said, "I'm really sorry about this. You know, I feel really bad about this, all this stuff." And it's funny because I was looking at, I was looking at Iranian sources and like how they responded to it. They were very pissed off. Most of the people were like, "Fuck you. How dare you say this, you fucking pussy." Like, there's a lot of people that are frustrated. There's a lot of people that are frustrated that he came out and made it seem like he was, made it seem like he was doing the strategic retreat, trying to engage in negotiations again. And that's obviously been a failure. There's been failure after failure. And they were frustrated for that reason. The other reason why it was confusing was because, and he is the moderate force in this equation. And so is actually really, at least more moderate than the IRGC. IRGC being the most like hardline. But the funniest thing was they were saying that there was one guy that I saw, like some Iranian analyst that I saw, that was saying that he's not a very good speaker, even when it comes to domestic affairs. Like, they were just shitting on him. That he's just not very good at communicating his opinions. Like, they were like, just don't listen to him. Yeah, Pezeshkian is kind of our Keir Starmer, centrist, useless, and hated by all. I don't mind that much pity. I don't mind him that much. I pity him. Yeah, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place anyway. But basically, what he was what the Arakshi statement was to like explain what the Pezeshkian statement actually was supposed to imply, considering that right after the statement came out, everyone was like, "Oh my God, is it over? Like, is Iran no longer going to hit the Gulf? Like, are they retreating?" It was not over at all. Newsflash. They kept immediately fucking hitting the Gulf. So it turns out his statement meant very little, right? So Arakshi comes out, foreign minister, much more reliable than the president in this sort of like trying to figure out what the fuck's going on internally in Iran situation. He says, President Pezeshkian expressed openness to de-escalate within our region, provided that our neighbors' airspace, territory, and waters are not used to attack the Iranian people. Gesture to our neighbors was almost immediately killed by President Trump. President Pezeshkian's openness to de-escalation within our region, provided that our neighbors' airspace, territory, and waters are not used to attack the Iranian people, was almost immediately killed by President Trump's misinterpretation of our capabilities, determination, and intent. If Mr. Trump seeks escalation, it is precisely what our powerful armed forces have long been prepared for and what he will get. Responsibility for any intensification of Iran's exercise of self-defense will lie squarely with the U.S. administration. Mr. Trump's week-long misadventure has already cost the U.S. military $100 billion. It's probably not that high, but okay. In addition to the lives of young soldiers, when markets reopen, that cost will balloon and directly be transferred to ordinary Americans at pumping stations. Yeah, the pumping stations is where the American government pumps our asses full of cum. So that's the real pumping station that's going on. Anyway, Mr. Trump's own National Intelligence Council, representing input from the 18 intelligence agencies of the U.S., determined that war on Iran is destined to fail. I also warned Mr. Trump's envoys that war will not improve their bargaining position. Were these warnings conveyed? The American people voted to end involvement in costly quagmires in the Middle East. Instead, they have ended up with an administration that Netanyahu, after decades of failed attempts, finally managed to dupe into fighting Israel's wars. This is a war of choice pursued by a small cabal of Israel firsters, and Israel first always means America last. And then he posted this. Here is Ali Largiani's statement. Oh, here it is. We do not welcome an expansion of the war, but if Europeans intervene, we will deal with them accordingly. Yeah. Pezeshkian, I'm sorry. Please put me out of my misery. Just kill me. Khamenei from beyond the grave. Woman is a flower. Largiani. I mean, the Iranian goals here are very clear, okay? If you want to know what they want, what they consider a W in the situation, it is the defeat, or rather a strategic retreat of American assets from the region. Okay, a complete withdrawal, or at least like a very withdrawal of American assets from the region. They want there to never be bases around the Strait of Hormuz ever again. They don't want the Gulf states to be in line with America and Israel. And perhaps that's part of the reason why they have been pummeling Dubai the hardest. Now, you might be wondering, why the fuck are they hitting Dubai so much? Well, for the longest time, I've explained to you that Dubai is, or the UAE is basically Arab Israel, Muslim Israel, whatever you want to fucking call it. Throughout the Abraham Accords and onward, the UAE has played the most significant role in increasing Israel's influence among the Arab masses, okay? The Muslim world in general. They have basically played side by side with Israel every step of the fucking way. It got to such a degree that it even threatened Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the most significant, most consequential Gulf state, right? It's the big dog, it's the top dog in the fucking region. And it got to such a degree that even Saudi Arabia was like, you're done. Even they soured their relationship with the UAE because of how much play the United Arab Emirates were getting from being Israel's dogs, servile dogs of the Israeli state, okay? That's the reason why Iran keeps hitting the UAE. That's the reason why they're hitting him. Because they literally, they were the Trojan horse. They were the guys that were actively trying to engage in psyops. They were the ones who were actively doing offensive persuasion campaigns. And that is precisely the reason why UAE's been receiving an even larger amount of bombing campaigns than Israel has, partially because it's like closer distance, easier to strike, as opposed to Israel, which is more difficult to hit. This is a funny thing that I saw as well. The regime state TV, IRIB 3, has just spent the past 20 minutes not talking about the US or Israel, but about how their goal is to kill the idea of Dubai. They claim Kuwait used to be like Dubai, but it never recovered from the first Gulf War. They claim this is their goal in the UAE. Real question, how is Egypt? What's Egypt's role in all this? Egypt. What is Egypt? What's that? Is that what is that? Is that like what the fuck? That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm Israel high. I'm Israel high. I'm Israel high. I love Israel. I love the nation state of Israel. Israel, most moral nation. Israel, best nation. Israel would never kill a single child. Okay? Israel would never kill a single child. And if Israel has killed children, let's be real, it's because they deserved it. Those kids were Hamas. Those kids were IRGC. I'm so sorry for the things that I've said. Yeah, Egypt is irrelevant. It's a non-factor. It's utterly irrelevant. Egypt has, just wait. We'll talk a lot about Egypt in the upcoming year, possibly, if the state inevitably collapses. A lot of issues with the economy. It's a vassal state. It works. It serves America and Israel's purpose. It's basically like a holdover state at this point. It's even worse than fucking Jordan, honestly. It's unbelievable. One of the most powerful countries of the fucking region for so long. Again, another empire, another country with so much culture, another country with like so much to offer the rest of the world. And yet now it is not even a fucking state. It's just a failed state. And the people are very frustrated. And I think that eventually it'll get to a degree where there will be too much instability and the state will not be able to to purge the people. Egyptians are the nicest people you'll ever meet. Yeah, no, Egyptians are great. I'm just saying that they're cooked. So getting back to the analysis, U.S. Gas prices per gallon obviously shot up here. Last week it was $2.97. Now it's $3.43. That's going to that's going to drive up prices across the board because gas prices are the only thing that Donald Trump has been able to lean into as far as how he's tackling inflation. He's like, every time people talk about like inflation, Trump will be like, affordability is made up. They made up the word. No one has ever heard the word affordability before. Also, think about the gas prices. It's so good. Well, now he lost that too. So maybe the Amerifats will finally understand that, our actions do have consequences. I doubt it. They're so fucking stupid that I don't think they'll fully understand. But that's the other side of the story. But yeah, getting back to the president's statements, not a lot of weight on these statements, except Donald Trump immediately took the opportunity to be like, see, Iran is done. They're done. They're retreating. They're pussies. They're cowards, whatever. And then they blew up a fucking water desalination plant, which also doesn't make sense. Because like, imagine if he had the power, he had the control over the IRGC, and he actually was trying to do strategic retreat to negotiate. Why the fuck would you bring them back in? By blowing up, by going up the escalation ladder and blowing up the fucking water desalination plant, and then simultaneously start striking oil refineries. If this was a sincere request for negotiations, then why are you doing more war crimes with the hopes that they keep fighting? None of it makes sense. Well, the reason why is because no one is invested. No one is interested in negotiations at all.
Drones and missiles over the past week, and Pezeshkian promised to stop targeting them unless attacked. Now, Mr. Trump said Iran is no longer, and this is his words, the bully of the Middle East, and is instead the loser of the Middle East, saying they will be for many decades until
Iran, which is being beat to hell, has apologized and surrendered to his Middle East neighbors, a promise that it will not shoot them anymore. This promise was only made because of relentless U.S. and Israeli attack. They were looking to take over and rule the Middle East. It's the first time Iran has ever lost thousands of years to surrounding Middle Eastern countries. They have said, thank you, President Trump. I said, you're welcome. Iran is no longer the bully of the Middle East. They are instead the loser of the Middle East and will be for many decades until they surrender or more likely completely collapse. Today, Iran will be hit very hard under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death.
Surrender or collapse, warning Iran will, quote, be hit very hard today. Now, the shockwaves caused by the war have already badly shaken the Gulf region, which is known for its wealth and its safety and stability, as its major airports, among the busiest in the world, either remain closed or are offering only limited evacuation flights, keeping thousands of Americans stranded.
Yes, neither side is actually interested in negotiating at all. Like, I do think that America will be invested in negotiating with Iran before Iran will be invested in negotiating with America. That much is clear because Donald Trump has said that already. He lied. You know, America was like, oh shit, this actually didn't work out the way I thought it did after the second day when America was like, Iran wants to negotiate. Maybe I'll do it. Like, there is one side here, however, that definitely does not want to negotiate until complete collapse of the state. That's Israel. This is why I've been saying over and over again throughout this entire process that if you want to understand like what the most like reasonable, the most reasonable, least bloody way of getting out of this quagmire is by cutting off Israel. You have to cut out Israel from the equation. As long as Israel's there, it's not going to happen. Sinatusi reports Israel is escalating towards targeting energy infrastructure in Iran, likely triggering more consequential Iranian attacks on energy facilities in the Persian Gulf and beyond. This will greatly raise the stakes. Israel is doing this despite the cost for U.S. and global economy. Mark Ames says, so much of the U.S.-Israeli targeting seems to be designed to trigger further Iranian escalations. Israel wants to collapse the region, and Trump and Hegseth are gullible, overconfident maniacs. That's why I said, I think they're not just invested in destroying and collapsing Iran. I think they want to destroy. It sounds insane, But I think they just want to destroy the Gulf. They want to have a completely destabilized and very weak Gulf. And by they, I mean Israel. Israel wants it, and America is not considering what the repercussions will look like right now. It's pretty fucking crazy. Because otherwise, why the fuck would you hit the Iranian oil refineries? Like, that's a red line, right? Now we wait to see if Iran actually retaliates and also follows America and Israel up the escalation ladder.
They're being decimated now. You know, at some point, I don't think there'll be anybody left maybe to say we surrender, but they're being decimated. And
Great. Fantastic. Yeah, we're led by fucking baboons, dude. Yeah, Shahed strike on Dubai International earlier. Hezbollah issues evacuation orders for Nahariya and Kiryat Shimona. Bloomberg, only large vessels associated with Iran are crossing the Hormuz. UAE MOD, 16 ballistic missiles, 119 drones have been launched at us today. Attacks on Bahrain and Saudi. Video of the impact of the Iran-Iraq border. Unclear what the target was, possibly energy infra. An oil tanker was just struck off the coast of Jubail. Iran fired ballistic missiles at Israel moments ago and are launching more now. Sirens are active in Bahrain now. That was 8 hours ago. Washington Post, a classified report by the National Intelligence Council found that even a large-scale assault on Iran would be unlikely to oust the IRI's entrenched establishment, a sobering assessment as the Trump admin raises the specter of an extended military campaign. Reportedly, a video of American HIMARS launched from Bahrain moments ago. That's also new, which increases Bahrain's culpability here. It's not just like hosting American military bases, but directly using Bahrain soil to strike at Iran, which will cause Iran to retaliate against Bahrain in even worse ways. Iraj Masjedi, targeting infrastructure is a serious escalation that will have dire consequences. It is the U.S. that has initiated this dangerous approach, not Iran. AFP, loud explosions have been heard in the Bahraini capital, Manama. American targets are being hit in Erbil now. Ballistic missiles reported over UAE. That was 6 hours ago. Al Jazeera says an Iranian military spokesperson has warned that any U.S. ships entering the Gulf will end up in the bottom of the sea. Lebanese Army Commander General Rudolf Haikal says Israeli landing forces wore military uniforms similar to those of the Lebanese army and used military vehicles and ambulances. This is the Israeli extraction campaign that they did. Israel has been going on side quests, by the way, while all of the world is collapsing around them, where they were like, oh, we found one of our soldiers buried in Lebanon. We're going to go and extract them. And from what I understand, they unironically used Syrian territory to launch this campaign while also engaging in perfidy and wearing gear that was like similar to the Lebanese military. Hezbollah engaged in an ambush operation and buried them instead. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck Israel is doing, where they're just like, oh yeah, let's use our special forces to go and dig up graves to find this one like Israeli guy. Insanity. But yeah, there's videos from strikes in Dubai. Iran has just fired more ballistic missiles towards Israel. The Qatari MOD, Iranian aggression caused a fire and material damage to a house and several buildings in Manama. Saudi MOD, a ballistic missile fell near Prince Sultan. Hezbollah just hit Haifa 3 hours ago, 2 times in a row with a very large barrage of rockets, likely Fajr type. Al Mayadeen's correspondence in Baghdad, an explosion followed by the activation of American embassies, defense systems in the Iraqi capital. Another Khorramshahr just arrived in Tel Aviv. Those are the cluster munitions that Iran has been deploying over Tel Aviv. Not cluster, not Merv. Hezbollah has conducted over 9 operations in the last 2 hours. Maariv, this is the most massive firing carried out by Hezbollah since Tuesday when it entered the fighting against Israel. Channel 12 says constant alarms in the north. Barrage over Kiryat Shimona moments ago. This is from 2 hours ago. Obviously, the Israeli interceptors are like fairly adept at tackling these kinds of bombings, but even then, they still have the capacity to punish Israel. I've heard from some settlers saying, okay, if we escape the north as the government is telling us to and evacuate the north, where do we go? Tel Aviv? Tel Aviv is also getting bombed. So while Iran is not pummeling, but peppering Tel Aviv, Hezbollah is dumping munitions in the north. This could also be part of the reason why the Iranian strikes have diminished as well, or at least that's one speculation, that like they're leaning into their regional allies again to the best of their ability. They got a lot of they still have some militia in Iraq, obviously, and they are clearly leaning into Hezbollah. And then you have the Ansar Allah in Yemen that's guarding the Red Sea, and they are seemingly very excited to get in on the action as American naval assets move in their vicinity. Settler platforms claim that occupation army is preparing for Yemen to join the fire tonight, 44 minutes ago. Hezbollah has conducted 19 operations in the last 5 hours. Jesus Christ. Al Jazeera says targeting the U.S. military base near Erbil International, an Iranian missile attack in Negev shortly ago. So Negev has a lot of military assets in the desert. We will most likely never see the impact sites at all. That's where like the Israeli Air Force is, or at least some of their that's where some of the Israeli air assets are. That's where some of their one of their big radars is there in the Negev desert as well. So yeah, there's a lot going on in terms of monitoring the fucking situation. The situation is being monitored a lot. China will well understand that attacks on Iranian oil infrastructure could prompt attacks on other countries, risking oil supplies, says a senior Department of Defense policy advisor last year. On the ground in Tehran, Israel will destroy the global economy. Yeah, this is also recent as well. Fire at an oil depot in Agdashieh. I don't fucking know how to say these words, man. Area of Tehran. Sex max me, please. Trump also turned around and said the United Kingdom, our once great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer, but we will remember, we don't need people that join wars after we've already won. President Donald J. Trump. He's posting like a little baby throughout this entire thing. Kid Starver straight up Amerihawk posting, relevant now that Trump is shit talking the U.S. Yes. I've seen the. Also, Trump is doing. I mean, this is full Brandon, by the way. We've gone up the brand. So you know how there's like an escalation ladder as far as like, what infrastructure they're targeting, that sort of thing. There's also a Brandon escalation ladder as well, and Trump keeps climbing up that Brandonization ladder. We have gone up to like 75% Brandon right now. It's not like full Brandon, because he hasn't hit the Hububada yet. But if he hits the Hububada, that's when you know it's 100% Brandonization complete, right? So there's levels of Brandonization that's taking place. And I would say this is like 75% Brandon, where he is asked on Trump Force One, Air Force One, why he's doing this. Let's hear what he had to say.
They are among the most evil people ever on earth. They cut babies' heads off. They chop women in half. What they did, take a look at October.
They chop women in half like lumberjacks. Decapitating babies, obviously classic Brandon. Okay? That's a classic Brandonian response. When a Brandon gets in a panic state where he has to defend the most glorious nation on earth, the nation state of Israel, the common Brandon response is to say, well, Hamas, Jack, they kill children, Jack. They chop babies. They cut the babies' heads off. They light them on fire, right? That's what he used to do. Trump is now hitting levels of Brandon we previously did not think he would hit. Okay? That's bin Salman. That's deadass Saudi Arabia. Okay. It's definitely not anything. Like, this is not, there's no there's no evidence for this at all. He just came up with that on the spot. That's why I'm laughing. Because the decapitation of children, we've obviously heard from Brandon before. It's a common, Zionist lie. But this one is new. The chopping women in half is new. He just came up with that on the spot. So I'm gonna give it. There's two separate Brandon responses here. Obviously, like there's the Brandonization escalation ladder, but then there's also like how many Brandons do you give to this? Because you know how you give like 5 booms. Like I give this a 4 Brandon. I give this 4 Brandons, and the reason why is because he gets an extra point for adding something new on the spot.
Babies' heads off. They chop women in half. What they did, take a look at October 7th. Take a look at what they've done over the last 47 years. So I know nothing about a desalinization plant other than to say if they're complaining about a desalinization plant, we complain about the fact that they shouldn't be chopping babies' heads off, okay?
Those babies, they don't need water. No one needs water in Iran, famously. Babies don't need water. So yeah, I don't know if Iran will retaliate by going up the escalation ladder alongside America, but as it stands currently, if they don't do that, it's not like it's going to cause America to back down as we've seen so far. America and Israel are not backing away from this. So we shall see. They said ages ago, if America bombs their oil refineries, so will they. I know, but President Trump, when asked if he would deploy U.S. ground troops at nuclear sites in Iran on Air Force One, at some point, maybe we will. That would be a great thing. But right now, we're just decimating them. We haven't done it. We haven't gone after it yet, but it's something we could do later on. Also, Donald Trump was asked about the Kurds, and he had some inconsistencies there as well. They were like, so what about the Kurds? And Donald Trump said this.
Some Iranians are concerned that the Kurds will carve out kind of an autonomous region as they did in Syria and Iraq.
We're not looking to the Kurds going in. We're very friendly with the Kurds, as you know, but we don't want to make the war any more complex than it already is. No. You've ruled that out? We don't want, I have ruled it out. I don't want the Kurds going in. I don't want to see the Kurds get hurt, get killed. We've had a good relation. They're willing to go in, but I've told them I don't want them to go in.
Do you think the map of Iran will look the same?
The war is complicated enough without getting the Kurds involved.
Yeah, that's because the Kurds are like, I don't know if we want to do this. You guys kept saying we're doing this, but we're not really doing this. So I don't know what's up with that. When asked if the Iranian map would look the same, President Trump said, I don't know. I don't think so. Going in, bro, does not know there are Kurds in Iran. Bro, Donald Trump does not know what a cheese... When Donald thinks they're talking about cheese, okay, he does not know anything. The reason why I think they don't want... Like, Israel wants to push the Kurdish angle, and it's not just for Iran. Israel wants to push the Kurdish angle because they want Turkey involved. And Turkey doesn't want the Kurds to be involved at all, because remember, that's the bordering region with the Turkish-Iranian border as well. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan says he asked Secretary Rubio about reporting that the USG was looking to arm Iranian Kurdish militia to attack Iran's security forces. Fidan says Rubio told him that he had no such intentions or efforts.
Amerika Dışişleri Bakanı Sayın Marco Rubio ile yaptığım telefon görüşmesinde de ele aldım. Yani böyle bir durumun olduğunun emareleri var, söylentileri var. Yani bu konuda kendi...
Update to this from Trump's gaggle on Air Force One. Trump says he ruled out having Kurds to join the Iran war. Says they are willing, but war is complicated enough. I heard on Al Jazeera that they had stated that they were willing to go in, but only if they were deployed with American soldiers. Yes. There are many different Kurdish troops in the region. There are Kurds in Iran, some of which literally fight alongside the IRGC, inside of the IRGC. Okay? There are some Kurdish groups that are separationists that want to build an autonomous, like Iranian Kurdistan inside of Iran. There are also a lot of Kurds outside of Iran in the bordering areas. Some of them want to fight alongside America and Israel, but need additional assurances such as aerial cover, air support, create a no-fly zone over Iranian airspace, America has not been able to give them that assurance. Some Kurdish militias in the region don't want to touch it at all because they're like, "What the fuck do you mean? We saw what happened with Rojava, right?" And some said, understandably, that they would go in only if American troops are going in with them. Okay.
As the Iran conflict expands, there's reporting tonight that thousands of Iranian Kurds are preparing for a potential military operation in Iran.
They say Tel Aviv looks like Gaza now. No, it doesn't, dude. That's fucking insane.
With U.S. backing. That's the Associated Press tonight. The Kurds are among the largest stateless ethnic group in the world, with roughly 30 million living.
Look. I'm sorry. When you hear a Fox News host get woke about the Kurds, just know that there's, there is an interventionist desire here, okay? Kurds are about to be used and abused as they have been over and over again in the region every single fucking time, only to be discarded, only to then like allow the Turks to come in and just like bomb their positions and create like a barrier territory. Just know that that's happening because these guys don't give a fuck about the 35 million ethnic Kurds that live in this entire region that are a stateless population. They've never cared about that shit. Why the fuck would they care about it with Kurds? The only reason why they're acting like they give a shit, like they're radical leftists or whatever. The only reason why they act like they give a shit about it is because, they want to use and abuse the Kurds again.
As minorities in Turkey, Iraq, Iran, and Syria, the Kurds represent about 10% of the Iranian population. They make up about 15% of the population in Iraq. The groups in Iraqi Kurdistan have a long history of working with the U.S. during both the Iraq War and the battle against ISIS. Joining us now is Bafel Talabani, president of the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan.
Are they stateless? Well, they are, as far as like there's no Kurdistan, okay? They're stateless in that regard. And the states that they live inside of are fairly oppressive to varying degrees. The only place that has like been able to carve out an actual Kurdish region, an autonomous region, has been Iraq. And that obviously came with the invasion. Rojava was supposed to be another one. And America totally was like, no, we're not doing that. Turkey doesn't want there to be any autonomous Kurdish regions unless those autonomous Kurdish regions are directly under the influence of Turkey. And I'm not super up to date with like the Iranian version of these incidents, but I do know that a lot of the Kurdish militias, like Kurds in Iran, are a part of the IRGC. They're a part of the armed forces. They're a part of the police. They're a part of like normal Iranian society, but there are still some Kurdish militia movements. They're just like super limited, right? And the ones that are super limited, it's very, Kurds will get mad at me and say, Hasan, how dare you fucking say this? You're a piece of shit. You're a Turkish nationalist. But like, let's be real. Some of the Kurds in Iran are working with the Mossad, okay?
The UK. Mr. Talabani, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Let's first start.
Because you fall for fake news? Okay.
Big picture and paint the picture from where you sit of what you see with this war in Iran and what you think the implications are of it as it exists now.
We saw the hostilities start surprisingly, and it seems to be a massive escalation across all fronts. Kurdistan has come under attack from several different angles, and I'm not seeing any sign of a slowdown. If anything, I'm seeing an escalation.
Yeah, Kurds are not a monolith. Each faction has varying beliefs. Some would never fight for Israel. Exactly. And initially, a lot of the Kurdish militia movements historically have been revolutionary movements and Maoists and Marxist-Leninist movements. Okay? You immediately jumped on the Mossad Israeli news like without checking shit. Brother, that is fucking crazy. To act like there is no motion there is insane. Okay? And even the most like resistant groups even the groups that are like saying that they don't want to do this are basically saying we don't want to do this because America won't give us enough assurances. That doesn't mean that they don't have the ambition. Okay? Jesus Christ, you're making it seem like there's no reason. You're making it seem like there's no reason for me to potentially assume that this is a part of their destabilization initiative in Iran. It very clearly is. It is. Some of the factions have said, of course, they're not going to be fucking working with Israel. Some of the factions have said, we would love to work with America and Israel. You just need to give us air support. And some of the factions have said, we will not go and work with Israel or America unless you actually not only give us air support, but you also fucking send in troops alongside ours. You will hear this now.
So the U.S. is working on taking out missile sites and drone factories and that sort of thing. But as far as groups on the ground fighting the Iranians, this reporting that thousands of Iranian Kurds are preparing for this operation, where does that stand?
There are a lot of Iranian Kurds that deserve dignity and they deserve perhaps better treatment. But as for any actual preparation and armed Kurds inside Iran, there are elements, and there's lots of political organization. But most of the most effective fighting forces are actually...
What's your opinion on Kurdistan? My opinion on Kurdistan is that all of the fucking regional entities that exist currently have created a spectacular national security failure for themselves over and over again by not offering the Kurds dignity internally or not offering them statehood. With autonomous regions. If they don't do that, then America is going to take advantage of that. It's that simple. You either build a Kurdistan with regional cooperation or you build it as Israel. And I know Kurds get really mad at me when I say this because they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? These are indigenous people. It's true. Yes, Kurds are indigenous to the region as opposed to Israelis who are not, right? But that still doesn't change the fucking function of a Western-backed Kurdistan. A Western-backed Kurdistan will always be a destabilizing factor. It's that simple. And it's understandable that none of the fucking regional actors would want that to take place, even if they are lapdogs of America themselves, like Turkey. Turkey is a vestige of American empire. Okay? Straight up. Turkey is an imperial vestige. And yet, they still have their own ambitions because it turns out they still have their own, they still have their own interest in sovereignty, in maintaining some semblance of sovereignty. And they are understandably worried about Israel, especially when you have, Wall Street Journal op-eds being released. Naftali Bennett talking about how after Iran is done, the next step is Turkey. How can you look at every single thing that is unfolded in this fucking region at the behest of Israel and not assume that fucking Turkey is next? What do you think of Rojava? I love Rojava. As you guys know, one of my favorite people on the planet literally went and fought in Rojava.
Outside of Iran, they're on the borders here.
You had a conversation with President Trump. What was that like?
He was very charming. He was very kind. I could feel the emotion in his voice. He said that the Kurds were great fighters. My understanding is that the protection of their people in Iraq is paramount. He's very grateful for all the years that we have served and I have spent with your special forces.
You also talked.
Yes.
What is their take on things from your call? Do you believe that regime change is possible the way it's heading right now?
The foreign minister, His Excellency, expressed great disappointment, if I'm honest with you. He indicated that as far as they were...
Abi biz de indigenous olmuyor muyuz? Evet. O da çok salakça bir yes. Like the people that say Turks are the colonizers are also ridiculous because like it's been fucking, I think it's been long enough. You know what I mean? It's been long enough, guys. They didn't come from the steppes 78 years ago, okay? Like, they're definitely also, you can consider the Turks at this point an indigenous population in Anatolia, okay?
The talks were going well.
It's a little too late for that conversation.
That a technical
also, none of this shit matters. I don't give a fuck. Like I said, if every single Jewish Israeli was indigenous to the population, and they were advancing Israel's current interests in the region, that would still be unacceptable. Okay? Like, this is why I always get really mad when people do the genealogy and the ancestry arguments about, Jews in Israel. Like, oh, they're all from Poland. They're from Lithuania, whatever the fuck. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit where they're from? What matters to me is they're killing people, okay? What matters to me is the Israeli state's actions. I don't give a fuck whether they have they have the capability to trace their ancestry back 3,000 years or 80 years or 100 years or 200 years. It literally doesn't matter even a little bit. It's just stop fucking killing people. I say the same thing about the Turkish state when they're killing Kurds, okay?
We're supposed to sit together in the upcoming days to discuss technical matters. He indicated that this wasn't a war that they were looking forward to, but it was a war they would have to fight. It's definitely existential to them. I got the impression that they were open to some form of peaceful negotiation, which realistically is the only real solution to this issue. Regime change at the moment doesn't look on the cards from what I see. We've seen no uprisings anywhere. We've seen nothing of that. But it's early days, I expect.
The reason why I don't like this argument, by the way, the assessment here, is because he's saying, like, if there's an opportunity, we will fucking seize on it. And it's ridiculous. Right now, especially if the Iranian government doesn't maintain its centrality, if the Iranian government withers away, if it's destroyed, Iran is balkanized. Okay? The idea that the Kurds will be able to like piece it out and build the Iranian side of Kurdistan is ridiculous, because then Turkey comes into the fucking fold.
This operation to be long and very difficult.
You think there are difficult days ahead. The president is suggesting that he would only accept unconditional surrender, in his words, to a reporter. So you don't see that right now, that this is on the cusp of happening?
I don't, sir. No, I don't see that right now. I think that the regime has been planning for this for 45 years, and you can expect a fierce resistance. The definition of regime change is important. What is the definition of regime change? And is there an off-ramp? Because some could argue that most mission parameters have been achieved. So is there an off-ramp where now perhaps we can try to resolve this diplomatically?
Yeah, I think that from the administration...
This is the best part of the conversation, where he's just like, he's saying, like, we don't want to take military action. We don't want to play a military role, and that regime destabilization will be harmful for all Kurds in the region, all Iranians, everyone. So he's right about that. Which side is Turkey and Azerbaijan over? Well, Turkey is more of a wild card. Turkey's on all sides all the time. That's just how Erdogan works, okay? He works in mysterious ways. One day he'll say, Israel, fuck you, we'll destroy Israel. And then the next day he'll be like, but we'll also send you weapons as well if you need it. Playing all sides all the time. That's the name of the game. Azerbaijan is more leaning on the side of Israel.
Listening to them, ballistic missile capability, making sure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon was the original objective going in.
Exactly.
The Israelis clearly are more wanting specific regime change to get a different leader in place that the U.S. and Israel can work with.
I understand that. And I think that, Mr. Baer, the conditions, I keep hearing the comparisons to 2003. I think the conditions are very different to 2003. In 2003, there was legitimate, well-known, respected opposition to Saddam among the Shiites, among the Kurds, and don't really see that in Iran now. There isn't a standard, a symbol for people to follow, and that will make it very difficult. Troops on the ground with a country the size of Western Europe, I'm not sure if that's feasible either, but there are many options, and I think the U.S. administration is wise enough to modify their position as the battle changes and as the battlefield changes.
Just to be clear, so there's no armed cross-border operation happening now from your territory in Iraq involving Iranian Kurds into Iran?
Not that I see, and you could argue that that's actually a detriment. Iranians, like everybody else, are very a nationalistic person, and I believe that if they fear that Kurds coming in from elsewhere will cause a split or a splintering of their country, this may actually unify the people and against this separatist movement. Then you have the complications of Turkey. Turkey will have legitimate concerns of this happening. You will have Turkish intervention against the Kurdish troops. At the same time, there is a problem with the Azeris. I think it's a very complicated scenario, and perhaps Kurds being tip of the spear is not the way to go.
Yeah. Well, there are many minorities, you're right, in Iran, and it's very complex as far as how it comes together. If you were to look into a crystal ball, how do you think this ends?
I think that Kurdistan needs to be a bridge, not a battlefield. And the Kurds are uniquely positioned as being your great allies and a partner and a neighbor of Iran. I think we're uniquely positioned to play a role in de-escalation when the time is appropriate, like my late father used to play that role. But what I see now, from what I'm seeing, is a weakened Iranian system, but the institutions, though very different to ours, are institutions and they remain solid. I think that once military objectives are achieved, I dare say that it will be the time for diplomacy. And at that time, we stand ready, as always, to stand with our friends and allies to try to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to this region that truly has suffered from far too many wars and far too many conflicts.
From Iran, because that's what we're seeing most in some of these Gulf countries.
Yes.
Are you worried about attacks and how to defend against those drone attacks that come in swarms?
Not to sound flippant, sir, it's not our first rodeo, and we have absolutely no defense against any drones. So I think the less time spent worrying about it, the better.
Yeah, I got you. And the U.S. is attempting to deal with all of those threats together. It's very interesting to hear your perspective. If you were to say the thing you're most worried about, what is it?
The humanitarian crisis. I think the people of the Middle East have suffered enough, and I urge all sides to try to look at a less bloody way to resolve our issues. I understand that, and I do believe, I genuinely
Yeah, well, America and Israel don't care about that. Let's be real.
believe that Mr. Trump, in his heart, wants peace. And I understand the theory of peace through strength. And I also think that when the day comes to acknowledge victory, there will be grace in that victory, and we may be able to have dialogue, and we may be able to resolve this issue through the only way that will make a long-lasting peace, and that's dialogue, stability, peace.
Here, while oil prices, which fuel economies across the Gulf, also continue to surge. Now, leaders in the region are warning of exports that may trigger a major downturn in the global economy. 1 week into this war, the battlefield is still expanding faster than diplomacy. And the question facing leaders across the Gulf and beyond is whether the next phase brings escalation or any meaningful effort to step back from the brink. Kelly.
Imtiaz, thank you very much.